Okay, we are going to do an LS build-up from a junkyard engine. Here's the donor for my 6.0. It's a 2006 3500 dually. It was a food truck. I talked to the gentleman that owned it before he got in the wreck, and he said that he took very good care of it, serviced it at every interval religiously. And then here is the actual engine, and it's a mess. It looks like it's come from Rhode Island, which it did. It's rust, oxidized. It is just a mess. So I did take the pains to get every single bit of the wiring harness off of it, and it's I'm gonna tear into it right now and start removing everything that I'm not gonna use, which is a lot. So we're gonna pause. So I said I was gonna pause. Well, that was yesterday. Um, it took a little longer to get this thing down to where it needs to be. It's still not there because I still have the cam in it and the lifters. I haven't taken those out yet. I will be replacing the oil pump, which is essential in my mind. I will be replacing the cam and the lifters, and that's about it internal. Of course, it needs a different oil pan because this came out of a truck, and it's going to need a different plenum because it's going in a Corvette, and the hood clearance is just not there. So the other thing I'll be doing along with the cam is the timing chain, timing gears, just because they should. This thing's had Lord knows how many miles. I think this one says it's over 200,000. However, when I look, there is no piston ridge, and there I can still see the cross hatchings from the hone. So I wonder if this was rebuilt recently. Don't know that for sure. I'm going to mic it, and then I'll know better. But what I will do is, as I get to the different steps of installation, I will share the installation steps with you. So that's all for today. Hey there, YouTube, back again. Did some cleanup on this block, got it so I could put a coat of paint on it. Just getting ready to work on the oil pump, which is right in there. And I need to change the cam, pull the lifters out, and put a new timing chain on. But I wanted to show you the puller, because it's not a regular harmonic dampener puller. This is the one to get. It's got 4 different lengths. I got it on Amazon, and all I did was say LS harmonic dampener puller, just like that. And what it is, I've got the 3rd rod in there, and you can see there's spots right on the pulley that are made, that this puller is made to snip right onto. And there's also an alternate way you could use the longer rod and done it pulling out here. But this works, and this puller has a nice socket on it, so I can just use a ratchet. Don't have to do anything special. So let's see here. I got one handy. Whoops, that's a breaker bar, but that'll work. And so anyhow, I wasn't really coming on here to show you how to pull a pulley, but I was wanting to share my puller with you. So I'll be back. Okay, so to replace the pump, it's really going to be the last thing here. What we need to do, and this is the pump right there. Here is the new pump, and it mounts right on there after the old pump is removed, just like that. And the new pump is nice and pretty and clean, and I'm not sure, it's a Melner, I think. Can't remember what brand it is. But more importantly, we need to pull the lifters, and we need to pull the cam before we can do anything. So let's see what, here's the process of the lifters. We've got that little guy. There's one on each side. And of course, the flip side of the engine's going to be the same. So bear with me as I do this one-handed. Don't really know for sure what I'm going to find here, but here's a lot of some of our little goodies we're going to be installing on this LS. So let's see, I just did that, and that is going to allow us to access in here the lifters themselves. So that's a starting point, or a pretty good starting point. I am going to hope that a magnet will pull those out. Let's see if it will. I think it will with a little help. Yeah, there we go. So that's the first step, is to get your lifters all out. Then the second step is going to be to remove first the oil pump, then this gear. Well, actually not totally, because we want to get the chain off so that we can pull the cam out. So we'll come back when we're a little further in the real thing here. Okay, coming back on a couple of points. First off, if I didn't say so, you have to pull all of the lifters before we can pull the cam. Secondly, 4 bolts to hold the oil pump on. Very simple. Comes right off. The front cover. We need to put a new seal on the front. And perhaps some of you have never done this. The engine itself is going to work just fine. You just take put it over that opening, and I'm just going to use an extension, a very short extension, and you put it here and in here and here and here, so like all the way around, and just give it a smack. Eventually it's going to come, and I will show you. So when you're removing a seal, you don't expect it to look too hot when you're done, and it doesn't. And it took about 8 whacks, and I got around it pretty much in 4 spots: top, bottom, left, right, and I made them all the same. So I have a new seal. I actually have 2. For some reason, I have a cardboard thingy here with these items that are from Summit. And then I have this one that is, I'm guessing, from my big 3 gaskets, because I did purchase some things from Summit and some things from Amazon. So I will find the seal that goes there and I'll install it now. Okay, the seal is installed. What I do is I just set it on the floor. I set the seal where it goes, the way it goes, and then I lubricate it with WD-40 pretty heavily. And when you're done, you want to look on the flip side and make sure that the seal is all the way around. Now this green thing is to support the flange or the lip on the seal that does the sealing until you're going to put it over back over the crankshaft. So I'm just going to leave that there. I'll clean this up before I install it. But that's the seal part, and I just do that now just to get it out of the way. So we've got half of our lifters out. We need to rotate the block, take the other half out, and start working on the cam. Okay, let me explain what the purpose of these are. What they do is they hold your lifter. Okay, here's the new lifters. They hold your lifter where it belongs so that it stays on the cam the way it belongs. So I'm going to open one of these and let's see, what can I do? I guess I'll just set it right there. It only takes one pull to open this, and you'll see that there's 2 important pieces to this lifter. This roller needs to be on a lobe. So when you install it in the block, it goes like this. And when it's like that, you'll notice there's a flat spot on the top and the bottom. And that coincides with this flat spot on these 4 plastic pieces. So that's exactly what they do. They hold this so that they are all flat and the roller is on the lobe of the cam. And that's it. Okay, now I removed the oil pump that was already loose. It just was hanging on there. And I have removed the screws from the larger timing gear. Now, in doing that, I can now pivot this gear on the shaft enough to remove the chain, if it's not going to make a liar out of me and cooperate. So, let's see here. No, it's not. So, there's a pin right there. These are where the bolts were. It should, for all intents and purposes, pivot. Just a little, just enough to remove the chain. And I'm just going to remove it so that I can. And there's our cam. However, it's going to be much easier to get out of there by putting the gear back on. Again, there's the new timing set. Just like that oil pump, you don't go to the extent that we are on taking this thing apart without replacing those. Okay, so we've got that pin back. We can put one screw back. And since we have all the lifters out, it is simply a matter of pulling the cam out. And it should have nothing stopping it. Let's see if that's going to be true. I did get all the lifters. Yes, I did. Oh, there might be something. No, it shouldn't be. I can feel pressure, and I don't like that. So, I need to figure out why and address that, and then I'll come back and share. Okay. We are upside down and backwards. According to the screen here. I don't know why. Anyhow, what I found were these stars. There's 4 of them. And there I would hold the cam in. They are a T30. Right there, T30. And we need to remove those so that we can remove the cam. So let me do that and I'll be right back. Alright, so I have removed the stars. They're all gone. I left the cover on. I like to use the gear to pull the cam with. It's big enough that it gives you some leverage and so on and so forth. So there's one bolt in opposite the pin. And basically what you do is you just kind of work it back and forth and up and down, and you just try to very carefully pull it through all the way. It will take some time. You have to be patient and just give it its own time to move, and you'll feel it as you turn the cam where the spots are, where it will come forward. So I'm gonna do that because it takes 2 hands. Okay, good morning. We are about to install the timing gear set, and this particular timing gear is set includes one of these guys, which it has all different kinds of offsets, which changes your actual timing permanently. But we're not going to use that, so what we'll do is we will install this cam, this sprocket, so that the O is in the sprocket, because we don't want to mess with anything. I will show you what that involves, which is very minor, and that's just to put a 0 on there. So as we do this, the timing mark that we will use is this one here. Oops, where am I? Okay, so we put the sprocket on with the 0 there. So the timing mark we will use is a 0 right here on that tooth. So we need to do that. We need to get this around. So let's do that so that it's up on top dead center, or at least close to it. And the other thing about this particular timing set is it has a it's got a thrust bearing, and the thrust bearing goes on the cam, and Okay, so they said top dead center, but it's just the top. Okay, so you can see this engine cranks over fairly easy. So we've got a thrust bearing that goes between the cam and the timing sprocket, and it goes so that it's got two sides. It's got a black side and it's got a shiny side, and the black side wants to be against the block. So I'm just making sure it's somewhat clean, and I'm going to place it on the cam sprocket, and then I will place it on the cam. And as you can see, there is a pin on the cam, and that is used to pivot the chain. I think I've mentioned this, so that we can get it on the sprocket at the same time. It looks like my thrust bearing is causing a problem, so I'm going to set this down. So to correct this situation, what I did is I added a screw, one of the cam holding retaining screws, through to get that mounted up there. So that definitely did make it a lot easier to do. But now what I have to do is I have to get this sprocket about where it belongs, and that way it's going to be easier to do the timing. So right about there is where it belongs. So at this point now I want to remove this screw, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to put the chain on the sprocket. So you put the chain on the sprocket using the pivot action of that pin. So that allows the movement of the cam gear. So what we need to do is have this timing mark in line with this timing mark. And once you get that done, so that these three screws are in here, the chain is on the sprockets, both of them, then go ahead and crank the whole assembly 2, 3, 4 times and get it back, and make sure you can get it back to the 0 orientation. So that is how we install a timing chain, and I will do that and come back here in just a moment. Okay, here's what your timing set should look like. You get the 0 and the dot. Those teeth point to each other. You get the screws in, torqued, and most importantly is that this is lined up, and you do have to tap that right there to get that to work that way. I like to crank around a few times, make sure that this is repeatable, and after 2 or 3 times, you know it is, so I just do that just to make sure. So there you go for a timing gear set. That is the installation. Next we're going to do the lifters. So a second ago I said I was going to put the lifters in, but I'm not. I'm going to do the oil pump first, and it's really difficult. You take this little guy here and put it on here, making sure that it goes over the key. And then you take this little guy here and he goes like this, and you get the marks that are on the inside, get those guys lined up. And once you get that, it is just a matter of putting it in to here. Okay, this port here lines up with that port there. So that really is the most critical part of it. But yeah, we can get these guys on here pretty easily. And they turn too, so whether it's right or not is, I mean, there's only one way you can do it. So let's get it on there. I hit it once. Oh, you dirty rotten thing. There we go. So now we're lined up. Just a matter of putting the bolts in, torquing them. 26 foot-pounds, same as the cam. Sprocket bolts, and we're good to go. So there's 4 of those. I will get that done and get it torqued, and then I'll be back. Okay, we will now do the lifters. One thing I do is I pour a little bit of oil in here in the oil pump just to make sure that it pumps. And it looks like it does because the oil disappeared. So there's that. Now I got to turn the stand so that I can do the lifters. Just a minute. Okay, the lifters are really quite simple. You've got 8 holes on this side, and there'll be 8 holes on the other side. You take the lifter. I will oil it before I drop it in there. And you drop it in there so that the roller is just like that. So it's on the cam, rolling correctly. So that's it for the lifters. I'm going to do it, and I'll show you the afterwards. So hold on, please. Okay, 1/4 done. What I do is I bought mine individually, each. And as I cut them out, I do 4 at a time. As I cut them out, I set them into oil, but only the roller end. And then the roller end will, of course, make a mess, but that's okay. And I put them in to the holders 1 at a time. And we know that they have to go in with the flats like that, so that the roller is going the right direction for the cam. And last but not least, and then this is fairly easy. We want the U to be down, well, or up, depending on how your cylinders, your block is sitting on the stand. But once you get that so that it's right, it will slide right in. just like that, and put your bolts in and torque it. And now we're halfway done. Okay, so here's the other half. Wasn't sure if I got a shot of how these go in. If you just set them in there so that they're kind of started, and they will just slide down just like that. And I'm not pushing very hard on this either. And then there's 2 bolts that hold those guys in, and 1 in each. And then you torque it over 25 foot-pounds, 25, 26. So that is that. All that's left, I'll come back and tighten those and torque them. But really all that's left is the front cover to this, up to this point. And of course that's pretty simple. I mean, there's my surface. I don't have the gasket on there. I will put it on before I put this on for real. But I mean, you just put it on. I believe I went over replacing this seal. And I just leave this thing on here till I'm ready to put it on. So that pretty much sets up our short block. With the exception of the oil pan, I will come back and do the oil pan with you. My oil pan is very small because it's going in this Corvette here. I guess I can reveal that. It's it's been sitting here waiting for it for a long time. I had an LT1 in it. I took that out, and I think this is the oil pan that I will be using once I get the dust off of it and everything. So that'll be next. Until then, okay, to wrap up this as a part 1, I'm going to stop at the oil pan. I did install the front cover. I hope you're not mad. It's really nothing. Just a few bolts. The seal we replaced already. And then I got looking at the engine and realized that I didn't do the back rear seal. So it took a while to get at all the bolts. I do not have to take it off of this engine stand to get the flywheel off and to get the rear cover off. And the seal came out with just a couple of pushes with a screwdriver, so it looks almost good. And so I will install the seal next and put this back on. I'm not gonna record that. And then I'll get the oil pan out and we will talk through what is different, if it is. I don't know this yet because it's a brand new one that's very low profile for the Corvette. Now, the other thing is I bought a vibration dampener, a new one, harmonic balancer, whichever term you choose. And the reason why is this is the old one, and it's just so rusty and nasty looking, and I just didn't want it on there. So I won't have that for a couple days, but once we start putting the front cover or the rest of the front on here, we will have it. And then After that, after the short block is complete, I'm thinking the cam I bought requires these springs. The springs be changed on the heads that I bought. And just a second here. So here's the heads that I bought, and I need to change all the springs for the valves, and it's got to do with the cam. Don't know why. Here's what these valves look like. So these are some pretty decent heads. Most everything I got came from Summit Racing. Some things from Amazon. And I got one of these guys to put on there. So these are things that are coming up. I will complete this as a part 1 video yet today and publish it. So that's where we're at right now. I'm going to pause this for now while I complete these couple of little things. So the one thing I will say for putting on the rear main seal, make sure that you use the guide that is included with the seal. And you use it by having it in the seal itself, and then on the crankshaft it will slide over. And when you do that, that's where you want to tighten it up, because that is the correct position for that cover, that rear cover. So that is that. Onto the oil pan. Okay, we're down to the oil pan. There was nothing special about this other than it is a low profile oil pan. I ended up getting 2 oil pans. Don't really know why. I think it was just while I was on the phone with Summit, I mistakenly did that. So what I've done, the only RTV I'm using is at these corners here, all 4 of them, and that's because there's a marked difference in the height of those along there. And since there's not on the oil pan itself, because there isn't, I'm not going to do it on the other side of the gasket. So I'm going to pause for a second. I did that so I could put the pan on and start some of these screws while I'm talking. So this is a very nice looking pan. The other one, the one that I didn't use, is not a nice looking pan, although they cost about the same. The biggest difference is that this one had a pickup. The other one did not have a pickup, but it had the low oil oil level idiot light or idiot sensor, and I got nothing to hook it to, because this is going in a 77 vet. It might also, instead of the vet, I'm kind of torn because I got a hold of an 8.1 Vortec the other day. I've also got a 72 Nova that I might put this in, or the 8.1, I'm not sure. But here we go. This is going to wrap up part 1, because we have officially got a short block here. It's almost totally together. as soon as I get this oil pan screwed down. And we'll pick up for part 2, I guess with the heads. Like I say, I do have to change all the springs in the heads first before I can do anything. But, you know, we're getting close to the point of being able to start this thing up. And we will do that here in the next few days, I think. Because I'm not waiting to start it, you know, when it's in the vehicle. I have a stand that I can run it off of. So, that's all for now.